there that I guess you guys leaked it out. I said Gase had that little rash. I thought everything that said in here was private, amongst family.
We just saw it on the
whatever said in here stays in here, like Vegas or something. You don't get me in trouble there. How we doing?
Hey, he said that he wants you all to hold him accountable, calling those runs.
You know what he has? He really has done a good job. And it really isn't a small thing when you've thrown the ball as much as successfully and as much as he has, and he has stayed with the run, and I think his discipline in the play calling, and he's done such a good job with it that really did help us come out of that thing and kind of stabilize this whole thing when we were really struggling early, and so I think that's been no small factor, and I tease him about getting that little rash when he has to call too many of them in a row, but he's been really disciplined.
I know Coach Gase talked about getting Jarvis Landry the ball.
Yeah.
And then he felt bad about not getting him. How tough is that when things are working on offense? You kind of stick with works. Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's unique getting it to White House because it sounds easy, in fantasy football. Hey, you throw it to your best players, but a lot of times it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to. Depends what they're playing. Depends how the game's going. All of a sudden, just because you dial up something with his number on it doesn't mean it goes to him. But he was really hot, and he was playing well, and he was beating the guy who was over top of him, and I think we all. It really wasn't Coach Gase's fault as much as mine because I usually give him those suggestions, and so it was really my responsibility to get it to him. We knew he was winning. We knew he was kind of. Had a hot hand, and we just had trouble getting the ball to him, and that falls back on me. And Coach Gase probably took my bullet on that one, and that's really my fault. So, but it's not as easy as you think, but you have to. I mean, he's the guy, and even with the 3 catches, he still made us go. Right, he makes a great move on the guy, goes up the sideline, he runs over a guy, pops his helmet off. I mean, those are, Jarvis is kind of our tempo setter. Excuse me, and if he gets he kind of gets the unit going, and so that's we have to keep the ball in his hands. I mean, he that's him. He plays with it on his sleeve, and the more the ball's in his hands, the more this offense is going to be pretty darn good.
So, at the risk of causing you a rash, what do you think of the term game manager for a quarterback, and is that what Ryan is now?
Yeah, I think you want every quarterback to be a game manager, and we talked about that last week. That when do you take a risk, when do you not take a risk, all those things. There's nobody who's not a game manager. The Brett Favres and the freewheeling guys still have to be a game manager. When to throw it away, when to take a chance, when to throw it up for grabs. So, yeah, I think he is managing the game well. I mean, I think to go 3 weeks without a turnover and. To protect the football, to understand how we win a football game, to understand who we're playing, to understand what our unit is. Those are all really hard teaches because they're kind of unique. Every week's a little bit different, and some weeks you need them to take some chances and make some big plays. Some weeks you need them to just be patient and take checkdowns. And so I think he's managed the game extremely well. I think it's a really, really good term. It kind of had publicly has got this derogatory that you're not a playmaker if you're a game manager, but even the great playmakers that I've been around are game managers. But it's a hard teach. It's a hard disciplined teach. It's a hard discipline learn. It's tough.
So he shouldn't be offended by that.
No quarterback should be offended. It should be a compliment. But it kind of has this derogatory term of making you a non-playmaker. You just manage the game. Absolutely not. In fact, you guys make our job a little bit harder because they do look at it as it's like a possession receiver. What's a possession receiver? You catch the ball underneath you. I mean, it has this derogatory connotation, and yet it's absolutely a critical. You want receivers that possess the ball, that keep possessions, and So I think game manager for a quarterback kind of falls in that one that has this negative connotation, but not inside the coaching rooms. It doesn't, not at all.
Clyde, how would you describe Ajayi's running style, and is there anybody he reminds you of that you've coached?
Yeah, good question. but maybe a little bit Edgerrin. James Edgerrin was kind of a good mix of, right when you thought that you had a finesse guy, he ran you over, and right when you thought he was going to run you over, he ran around you. And I think that maybe a little bit of, I didn't have Edgerrin when he was before the knee surgery, but he had that ability to do both. And I think this guy, that's like a pitcher. If you've got two good pitches and one's a hard ball and one's a finesse pitch, that's a hard combination. I think you see it. You saw it at the end of the game. All of a sudden, you come running through there and on a safety, and then that's a bad feeling because one time he goes around you, one time he goes right over top of you, and so I do think that that's he's got a nice little combination going. He's a violent guy. He's a big guy, but he does have an ability to outrun you or run around you.
You talk about the production from the tight ends, Dominic Jones, Marquise Gray, and it seems like Tannehill is getting more confidence in both of those.
Yeah, and I think one of the huge factors in these that's what we said in our team meeting today is that that it's going to take all 53 and some, and there is no such thing as rookies anymore. There's no such thing as practice squad. They're just Dolphins, and everyone's going to have to step up and make a play. And you had Duarte up from the practice squad this week. He played 2 snaps, and you had your 3, 4, and 5 tight end playing against probably the best front we've seen this year. Really good defensive front with a bunch of girth and big guys, and so for those guys, I said it last week. Marquise did a great job, and now DJ comes in who got released after camp, and he comes back and catches a huge third down conversion to kind of run some time off the clock and keep that drive going at the end. He catches the touchdown pass, and that's your 4th tight end who jumps in there and does it. And Duarte was ready to go and played 2 snaps and gave us a little cheerleading effort there and some enthusiasm. And but it's huge, and it has to happen. That's the second half of the year it'll happen more and more and more because guys are worn down, guys miss some time, and someone has to step up. And no one really gives a darn whether it's your fault. They just want you to win. So that's really important. So I do think he's getting confidence in those guys, and they're especially on the movements, and we had the huge movement again where he's throwing it off the run, and those guys are coming across, and those are big plays and touchdown. Just have the confidence and a guy you haven't done a ton of work for and with, and to hit him in the corner of the end zone like that. That was a big throw and catch.
So you've seen the playmaking ability of Jakeem and Kenyon Drake on special teams.
Yeah.
Obvious. Are they progressing to the point where you can kind of use them a little bit more?
Yeah, we really think so.
Offense?
Yeah, they really have some juice to them, and we tried to get a little Keem package going. I told you we were going to try and do that, and he dropped the one, and kind of was a little bit of a setback. But we just got to keep doing it. They make plays, and Damien's the same thing. As soon as they go in there, they make plays. So the more we can get them in there, the more we can find things to do with them. It's not again as easy as the outsiders look at it. There's only so many balls, but the crew's got to step up and go. He got 35, 40 snaps this week. That he wasn't expecting to play. All of a sudden, Kenny goes down and he plays 35 or 40 snaps, and so those are really important. No little things to us being successful, and to try to keep some momentum going as we head on the road.
Is there anything about Damien Williams that has surprised you?
No, he was kind of, when I took this job and you're watching all the film and you're trying to assess things, he kind of became an instant favorite of mine. They talked about him as a special team guy, but the one thing that jumped off the tape is every time he touched it, something good happened, and I always tease with Coach Gase. It probably it's not a joke, but that he per snap probably has more big plays than anyone on the offense. That for the number of snaps he has for big plays, his ratio is really high, and he's a tough guy. He gives you some tempo. He really, he was one of the guys who, when we got here, I just thought was really an important guy to keep around here and to get involved, and so I have not been surprised by it at all. He kind of was one of my instant favorites, if you will, just because of what you saw on film. That every film you watch, he's whacking linebacker coming up the middle, or he's finessing somebody, or he's breaking a tackle, or special teams guys love him, and you know, all the things you're looking for in a backup running back. You know, in your two slot or your three slot. That he you know, he's been really terrific.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
You guys all going west?